Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott and joined by the full Southampton team late at night after the game. Zach, how you doing?
Yeah, mate. I mean, wasn't 3 points, but it is a point, and that at this stage of the season is all we can ask for.
And Oscar, how you doing? How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good. Double figures. We're nearly there.
Look.
Double figures. It's like when a kid turns 10 and it like blows their mind, and except it's just almost that we're getting past the point of being the worst Premier League team of all time.
Well, that's it. Look, we have talked all season about how it is the hope that gets you, and tonight was living, breathing proof of that, because for 92 minutes there was belief that this might be the night that we became the second worst Premier League team in history. But that's not how it went down. There was an audible groan when 8 minutes were raised.
There it is.
And it only took two of them to, in very Southampton style, let someone score their first Crystal Palace goal.
Look, it's nice that we're a really charitable side, right? What's that? Jadon Sancho this season, Rashford when he was still actually at United. Now, I can't remember his name, which sounds awful, but is
Frank.
Just
another one is that when he came on, me and my mate that were watching, without getting the audible who when he came on. I mean, we both said, "Who is that?" Googled him, Mateus Franco. Never heard of him. Wallop.
Oh no, was he? He's the guy they were talking about, I think, who's been out for like ages with injury problems, and they were really excited, and they spent a lot of money on him. And obviously, it comes on and scores because that's just. Well, as I pointed out, we were chatting just briefly before we kicked off as well, and I just want to tell the anecdote of my wife saying that is the most Southampton thing that ever happened, and to ever happen. And when I said this to both the lads, both of you, without missing a beat, were like, actually, no, the most Southampton thing to happen would be for us to lose 2-1, which is also what I said to my wife. So we have to take the small victories. That's where I'm at. I'm still kind of...
I know that it's far too late in the season to be talking about taking positives from performances, right? Like, we are all but mathematically relegated, and that could happen still as early as this weekend coming. But we played with some belief. Tallpool scored a goal on purpose.
True that.
And when we conceded, we didn't drop completely and immediately concede another. So, I
actually thought we played some really good football as well, and we made Palace look very ordinary. I don't know whether it was us being very good, Palace being very poor, or a bit of a combination of both. But genuinely, we played some good football, and it is, as you say, it's frustrating. It's taken until we are practically mathematically relegated for that to happen, because I don't think, I've said it before, I don't think we are the worst team in Premier League history. I don't think it's fair. Obviously, look, if they end up not getting those points, then it is. But, if we played that Derby team, I think we'd absolutely wallop them. If we played Sheffield from last season, I think we'd beat them. Yeah. I just think
we got very unlucky at the start of the season and have really struggled with momentum since that. There were 2 or 3 VAR decisions at the start of the season and a dodgy penalty against Man United that really killed any hope of gaining any momentum. And we've sort of seen performances in spots and bits here and there, and it's never really come together. But it's that the goal that we scored was, I watched it back on the short highlights while I was waiting for you guys to join, and what a beautifully worked goal from Matty Fernandes.
Such a good. This is again like. So before we kicked off, you text us, Greg, talking about how there was a big section in today's programme about how much he's loving life in Southampton here, and I can't believe that he prefers Southampton over London. I can't think that the Buddha Lounge has anything in comparison to some of the London clubs.
I did read the full article, and it does go on to say that he really enjoyed playing at Old Trafford. So maybe preferring Southampton to London might not be our biggest concern.
Enjoyed playing at Old Trafford. Well, to be honest, mate, like unless we're planning to take like 3 apples and a £5 note found down the back of Ratcliffe's sofa, we're probably all right. So, unless they're going to get any money back on all of the players they bought, I don't think that's as much of a problem. But back to the main talking point, yeah, the goal was fantastic. It came out of it felt like it came out of nowhere. We actually like knocked on the door as early as 8 minutes in after what felt like it was going to be a very standard sort of Southampton performance, and that was Fernandes was once again absolutely superb. And you could tell, like, there were a couple of times where got the ball and absolutely skied it, but like the intent was always there. And like, I think that all of the players recognised that. I think that Stevens had a good game. I think defence had a good game. I think it was genuinely, I think I've already said to you guys that I think Bednarak had a few wobbles a couple of times, but also he was going to be run ragged by a significantly better. But that was, I think it was 12 hours, they said in the commentary, that Crystal Palace had gone without like conceding a goal or something like that. Ridiculous. So the fact that it was at the 9-minute mark, so once Paul got that goal, like it was like that 12 hours and 10 minutes were then broken. So I don't know. Where I'm at is that there are some positives to take, which you said, Greg, like it's not really, there's no much point talking about positive performances at the end of the season. And I kind of disagree because like this is all we've got now. That's all we've got, mate. Like, it's not like we're not going to get relegated. It's not like we've got not a huge amount to look forward to. And me and you both discussed, like when we were working our day jobs today. Like usually, football used to be something we really looked forward to. I was kind of dreading having to watch tonight. I didn't dread watching the game. I enjoyed watching the game. Yeah, okay, that last 5 minutes or 6 minutes exactly killed it a little bit. But I don't think that anyone thought that the script was going to be any different, other than the fact that, as we've both pointed out, we probably thought we'd lose. So anyway, I've chatted for a long time now, lad. So
I think I went into it thinking the same, and actually, I think you could tell in the ground it was very flat before kickoff. Didn't even really hear when the brass band started up. It was very
mate. From like outside, it was dead.
It was, and until Southampton scored, and then it got a bit livelier, but it was very quiet. But I say it did liven up towards the end, and it got really loud. It was basically at a point at Flynn Downs absolutely flattened someone. All of a sudden, it kicked off, and it made you think, well, maybe this northern wall could work if we actually gave him something to cheer about.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame the fans or us for being.
Oh no,
it's been woeful at home all the way up till this point. And, that shows this is the first game I've seen empty seats in any capacity. And there were definitely some Crystal Palace fans sat directly behind me. Which was not ideal, but they kept quiet. It wasn't too bad. But yeah, it was an interesting one. But we're going to get to the structured part of the episode, or we're going to try to talk about how we felt about team lineups and such. But first, a message from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, and we are back. So I've got to say that I looked for something to be upset by in the team sheet. And genuinely, for the first time in a long time, I really struggled. Like, it was a 5 at the back, sure, but we played 3 centre-backs. We played full-backs at full-back. We had 2 holding midfielders, like proper midfielders playing in midfield, and a striker. Probably would have gone for Archer personally over Onachu, but it proved to be the right decision. He actually had a reasonably good game right up until I think about the 60th minute when he looked like he had run his race for the day. But
yeah, mega cramped, didn't he?
yeah, Oscar, how are you feeling about the team?
Yeah, I think who knew that when we actually play our players in their right positions, we're actually not as terrible as you might think. I've said for a while I'd like to see that double pivot of Ugachukwu and Downs behind Fernandes. I think that was what clicked the most, which is why we were as good as we were, because Fernandes could just have that role to be free and to go and float around. Onuachu and Suleiman are linked up really well. They've got a really good connection. It's the only reason I'd say I'd probably would start Onuachu and maybe Archer. We've spoken about that before, but they've got a good relationship. I'm pretty sure they live together.
Yeah.
So I think it all sort of clicked into place. It's, again, frustrating it's taken until we're practically relegated for 2 professional managers, certainly this one, to figure out that actually playing players in the correct position helps. I appreciate we've had injuries, but the argument has always been I want a left-sided centre-half to play as left centre-half or a left footer. Jack Stevens has come in there and has done a relatively okay job. We looked pretty solid throughout. So, yeah, I think I was happy with it when it came out. I think that's probably, again, let's stick with that now. Let's not go and change it next game and go back to 3 up front or 2 or whatever.
Although did you say, Zach, that yellow card for Downs means that now he's suspended for 2 games?
Yeah, he's going to be out for Spurs and Villa.
Yeah.
So after we found something that worked really well, it wasn't injuries this time; it was the suspensions. But
yeah, frustrating actually because I thought Downs was looked like his old self a bit today.
Yeah. Whoa.
So, but that is a bit frustrating, and actually, it was a bit of a silly yellow card to be honest. I don't think he really needs to do it, but Aribo can slot in them and do a similar job, and actually maybe I know we'll probably come into it. We're coming to Spurs. Spurs are beatable, aren't they? Even at that place.
Yeah. It feels like it would be very Saints and very Spurs.
Yeah.
For us to be something like 3-0 up in 25 minutes somehow, and then probably lose 5-3.
Yeah.
Especially as we start to get towards the chaotic end of the season, right? Like they're not fighting for European places at this point. So it depends who wants it more, don't it?
It'll be a really interesting game. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed most of the night. It was good to see us click in together, and there were some nice flicks and some creative football. You're right, the freedom that Matty Fernandes was allowed really worked wonders. Even Ohenachu chased down the goalkeeper at one point and, blocked.
That was so funny. It didn't do anything, but it was lovely to see.
It lifted the crowd.
I just think they actually looked like they were fighting for something, which is the first time in a long while I've seen that. I don't know what. Fair play to Juric, because I don't know what he's done over the last couple of weeks, but it seems to have worked, at least for this game.
Also, just this is a huge part of our season now, is that a striker is now our top goal scorer. Onuachu is now the top Premier League goal scorer for Southampton with 4 goals, which is crazy, absolutely crazy.
2 and 2.
Yeah, bear in mind he's had 9 starts this season, and so in those 9 starts he's scored 4, which, comparison to the rest of our squad,
he's on a streak. 2 in 2 games. He is only the rest of the season away from breaking Jamie Vardy's record.
He still has his moments. So I don't know if you saw that one where did he cut the ball out from the goalkeeper, and then someone's cut the ball out. He's got it on the edge corner of the box.
Yeah,
he's trying to shoot, and it's nearly hit the corner flag.
It's like he had too much feet to get it out. He just couldn't get it out at all, and that happened 3 or 4 times. He's like, "Oh, a ball! What am I supposed to do with this?"
He is just comedy. Well, he's also flattened Adam Wharton at one point. Literally completely body slammed him.
He did, and that was very funny. Especially considering that Wharton got carded very early on for antics. But I think that that is the only criticism I can hugely throw is just, once again, it was when we got near the box, it's like a mass panic.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because, quite frankly, Kyle Walker-Peters and Fernandes run too fast, and then they've got absolutely no one to deliver it to.
They have to turn around.
Yeah, because what else
wait
you
for
do?
the ball to get into the box. It's
then
really funny.
There was one I remember that flew right across the front of Paul, but he just wasn't fast enough, and I think it was just released a little bit too early. I think it was Downs that crossed it in. But
we had 8 shots tonight. Do you remember a game the entire rest of the season where we hit 8 shots?
And I think we could have more. I mean, do you remember that there was another chance with Suleimana, which he actually had a weird game because he was quite effective whilst being really ineffective. Like he did well and then didn't actually like that way. He's driven into the box, or he just hit it across the keeper, bobble it past with your left foot, and he's for some reason cut it back, and there's no one there, and it was complete traffic.
There was one that fell to Downs as well, where I'm just screaming at him, just hit it, just leather it, and he tries to lay it off to Arnacho, and it gets blocked and goes out for a corner. It's like, just shoot. If you don't kick the ball at the goal, well, you don't win. How?
Yeah, but it's that standard thing where they're worried about losing it and they're worried about getting back, so they'd much rather try and play it less risky. But the problem is that you overthink it, you spend too much time, you allow Palace to get themselves back into a solid defensive unit, and then you are just going to hit another player. And it's that has been a big part of a big story of our season, in my opinion, is that the attacking threat doesn't feel like it's there. But then the flip side of that is that, you look back at that Pool goal and it was fantastic. It's almost like too much time with the ball in the box or near the box is almost like a detriment for us. It's bizarre. There are a couple of times where we had loads of time as well. Like Joe Arabo was dancing around with it, and it was sort of like, well, it's here, and then somehow ends up going back to Ramsdale.
That was a very deliberate play, it has to be said, in an effort to not give the ball away at a key point in the game where keeping it was more important than scoring.
But the problem is it, in my opinion, if we'd scored, it would have been a cushion.
I think it's telling what we're lacking is, like, Mateta for me actually had quite a poor game, to be honest, but he still rattled the crossbar and had another chance that was very well saved by Ramsdale, despite not really doing very much. He's had 2 very good chances, and out of nothing, he created both of them himself, which is what we're lacking, that quality to be able to do that. Even though he had a poor game all round, I would say. Well, I think Bednarik kept him pretty quiet, other than the slip.
Yeah.
We can forget that.
We're going to head towards some closing thoughts and some other observations. But first, a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Okay, so we're back. I want to dive a little bit deeper, Oscar, into what you were saying about sort of that key problem. And actually, I think that the fact that we allowed Mateta to create those chances is as much of a problem, because there were 3 or 4 times, notably in the game, where the ball would go up and Palace just had seemingly infinite amounts of time to take it down before anyone got out to them. And it's what caused the problem in the first half with the crossbar. And there were a couple of other sort of points in the game where I noticed it. And it's what happened to this sort of heavy metal man-for-man stuff that we were going for? It seems like they just had so much time and space sometimes. It was a bit baffling.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think that was a bit of a throwback to the man-for-man situation where they've left Mateta 1v1 with Bednarik, and he's got the better of him because he's slipped. And then all of a sudden, you saw the centre-backs all panic, the players all panic because they're with their player, and this one's suddenly gone free. So they're then trying to process in a short amount of time, right, who leaves who to go and close it down. And in the meantime, Mateta's gone, thank you very much, and wallop. So, yeah, I think it's one of those where we probably could deal with it better. I think we've dealt with it better today in terms of getting out to a loose ball than we have. Yeah. But actually, it's probably what's caused their goal as well. from a set piece, second phase, and we had that a lot with Martin, where we didn't get out to the ball quick enough from a second phase set piece. It's come in and we've conceded. So yeah, I think there are moments. I think we do need to try and be a bit more proactive defensively, because I thought from that one as well. Maybe I'm being harsh. Should a winger be beating Jack Stevens as centre back to the ball at the front post? I don't know if he could have got himself there, but he is a winger. Like, could he have done better? Would you say?
Yeah, I think it's possibly. I don't think Stevens had a bad game in general, though. I think it was solid, pretty solid. Yeah, really. If I look across the pitch and sort of go player by player, I don't really see anyone who had a bad day, with one exception, I guess. The £100 million man himself, Tyler Diblin, didn't exactly set the world on fire in his cameo appearance.
No, I think a few loose touches and a few naive touches as well. I think there was one that he could have just rolled out or hooked down the channel, with Archer getting on after it, and he's tried to sort of pop it down into the feet of Walker Peters, I think, and then they've nicked it and countered, and it was one of those where you think, a bit of experience, and you don't do that.
True, but I think if you look at quite a lot of the players today, that we've had some, like we said, that Downs got back to his old self, but then also at the flip side, he's managed to get himself a yellow card that probably wasn't really needed. There was definitely one moment where his dodgy pass back is what caused almost another goal. If it wasn't for us having Ramsdale, you stick Joe Lumley in between the sticks, and those Palace chances tonight would have been away. And this would have been another 2-3-1 loss, and we would be really, really mad. Yeah. And I guess that shows you some of the fine margins. And I think when the thing that sticks out in my mind when you go to, should that Jack Stevens do better, I reckon if most of our players did about 10-20% better in most of the games that we've had, that would have changed the way everything was, right? Like that's how our season's been. There haven't been. Right. It's like you said, it would be unfair to call us the worst team of all time, but we are going to go down as that. And if it's that is because of those fine margins, quite frankly, and that shows you where the league's at nowadays.
Yeah, there was another one as well where I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen it back in the highlights, which presumably means it wasn't as bad as it looked. But when Bednarek got booked from where I was sat, it looked like he might have been lucky that it was only a yellow.
I think because he was quite wide out, it would have been difficult to give that as a red. I'm not sure it was an obvious goal. I was right opposite. I was right next to the away fans, so they thought it was a red. Funnily enough, But no, I think that.
I mean, from where I was sat in the northern end, I looked at it and went, "Oh no, that's not what we need." So.
I thought that for the there was a Jack Stevens challenge in the box, which I think, by all accounts, was obviously a very good challenge.
Yeah,
I was a bit.
The one that was at the penalty, wasn't it?
They did check it, the VAR, because you saw the ref was hand to it. They also checked something for the goal because he was checking something, but their second goal, their goal rather, but obviously wasn't to be.
I think that's the thing, and the problem is that we can be so confounded in the negativity and confounded in the various reasons why our season's just been just catastrophic, and there are so many, and it can be recruitment, but then also it can come down to tiny small moments in these games where little slight things have been the difference between us winning and losing. And that is an indictment, realistically, of the league, isn't it? And that's where we're at. And it should be no surprise to anybody. As much as we can talk about how well Nottingham Forest have done it, XYZ have done it, over the last couple of years. But the last 2 or 3 years, it's got cutthroat. The same 3 teams that have come up are the same 3 teams that are going down. Points differences between the higher ones and the lower ones, and getting much tighter than they ever were previously. And I think genuinely, like, we had a really, really good game. We did a very, very Southampton thing. We're not the first team it's going to happen to. We're not the last. It's not the first time it's going to happen to us, and it's not going to be the last time either.
No.
But ultimately, a point on the board is a point on the board.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes a draw feels like a win. Sometimes it feels like a loss. And definitely it happening in the 92nd minute makes this feel like a loss. But what we need to remember is that this is still substantially better than we have managed at home pretty much the entire rest of the season. So
I think that was predicted, right? As in, I think almost everyone, except for Greg, had predicted us to lose. I didn't as well, but even myself, my prediction was fairly optimistic. But I listened to one of the other Southampton podcasts, and I think it was 2-0, 2-0, 3-0, and 4-0 with the predictions. So, I think, again, that's a point. I wonder what they would have had that down on, because they'd always note down every month. They would have every game down with what they expect to get from that game. I wonder what they would have that down as. I think they would have taken a point from that.
Yeah.
But the other thing to point out is you both went to the game today. Did you have a better time than usual? If the answer is yes, that's already better than it's been most of the season, because most people are going to those games every week in, week out. Greg, you're one of them. And, rather than having the absolute hype and excitement that you usually have, it's getting to a point now where it feels like a chore. And what happened was, for a solid 70 minutes today, wasn't as much as a chore. And we were able to talk about our team in a positive light for the first time in what feels like forever, because this is easily...
I think it might be the first time in all 169 episodes that we've produced. It definitely feels that way.
I also, one particular highlight was seeing the Chapel end give the away fans a bit of grief, saying how crap must you be, and so we're winning at home. So that never happened.
I love that.
It's the gallows humour of our fans is something that I will consistently stand by being the best. It is absolutely great.
I mean, the first chant after Tall Paul's name was "We're staying up."
Yeah,
so
it was. I was roaring at home. Put it that way. It made me laugh so much because again, even my wife's like, "Are they singing?" I'm like, "Yes, they were." Why are you like this? I'm like, what else do we do, love? I love you very much, but what else do we do in these situations?
I think the chant of "We scored a goal" started as well, quite quiet.
As well, yeah.
That's good. Perfect.
But that's the thing, right? And you got to have that little bit of fun. And we know it's not going to change everything. We know it's not going to resolve all our problems. We're not exactly going to be happy for the rest of the season. I'm sure there's probably still some losses to come. But in this
our last couple
moment,
of games are pretty ruthless. So.
Yeah, but in this moment, it was better than expected, not as good as we wanted.
Yeah. And they're the positives that we try to look for and live by.
Meets expectations.
Right, that is just about all we've got time for on this very, very late night from the Daily Southampton. Zach, Oscar, as always, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will be back tomorrow with something to do with the Spurs game. Until then, we didn't lose.
Hey!
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.